Yes, good morning, participants, and welcome to this second last day of the lecture series on Greek mythology. And we are exploring its relevance in contemporary literature. And today, we will embark on a journey that spans nearly 3 millennia, examining how Greek myths continue to shape our contemporary media landscape. So, the persistence of Greek mythology in modern storytelling isn't merely nostalgic appropriation. You may say, represents what a fundamental aspect of how Western culture has processed universal human experiences through archetypal narratives. So, Greek mythology very interestingly provides what Carl Jung has termed as collective unconscious, which is the shared symbolic patterns that resonate across cultures and centuries. So, these stories they offer frameworks for understanding complex psychological, social, and existential themes that remain as relevant today as they were in ancient Athens. So, from the hero's journey to the tragic flaw, from hubris to catharsis, and from Greek mythological structures, all these stories they underpin like much of our contemporary narrative architecture. So the question we should ask when it comes to Greek mythology is it should not be why Greek mythology persists, but rather how this mythology has been adapted to serve the ideological, technological, and even aesthetic needs of different media forms. So today we'll be examining this transformation across three primary domains, which are the cinema, television, and digital narratives, exploring that how each medium has both preserved and revolutionized these ancient stories. Ma'am, can you please change the slide? Yes. So we'll be starting with just a second. Yeah. So we'll be starting first with cinematic transformations. So if we talk about the relationship between Greek mythology and cinema, so it began with the this medium, the early cinema medium itself. So we have George Méliès' 1902 film, The Damnation of Faust, which drew heavily on mythological themes. You would say it established a precedent for using ancient stories to showcase new cinematic technologies. Then, sorry. Then in 1924, we have this movie, The Helen of Troy, and subsequent sword and sandal epics. So, especially the movies which are based on some kind of mythology inspired, say, particularly from war. So, we call them sword and sandal epics. So, the Helen of Troy, it started this trend of sword and sandal epics of the 1950s, which, which included obviously this movie Helen of Troy, and then we have Giant of Marathon, and which these movies they basically used Greek myths primarily as vehicles for spectacles. So these early adaptations they revealed several crucial patterns. So what was the first pattern that they have often simplified complex mythological narratives into binary moral conflicts which is suitable for mass audience. And then secondly they have frequently conflated different mythological traditions, like they have blended Greek, Roman, and even biblical elements together. And then they have used this mythological settings to explore contemporary anxieties about war, about morality and social change, while maintaining the safety of historical distance. So, this is how Greek mythology was introduced and used in the early cinematic experience. And then the emergence of psychological cinema in the 1960s, it marked a pivotal shift in the mythological adaptation. So we have directors like Pierre Pasolini, whose movie Media and Oedipus Rex, it moved beyond the mere cinematic spectacle to explore myths as a representation of psychological states. So Pasolini's approach was revolutionary because he presented these stories not as historical events or historical truths, but as eternal psychological dramas that played out in its timelessness and dreamlike landscapes. So this period of psychological turn, it also saw the rise of mythological horror movies like The Gorgon, and which used Greek monsters to explore the themes of sexual anxiety and social repression. So the transformation of mythological figures into horror antagonists, it revealed that how ancient archetypes could be adapted to serve contemporary genre conventions while maintaining their fundamental symbolic power. And then we have, you would say, the contemporary blockbuster mythology from 1990s to the present. So the modern era of mythological cinema, it basically began with Disney's Hercules. So this movie came out in 1997, as far as I remember. And this movie demonstrated that how Greek myths could be thoroughly Americanized while retaining their narrative appeal. So, however, we also have more sophisticated treatments of Greek mythology with films like Troy and 300 and the Clash of Titans franchise. Troy basically it represents a fascinating case study in mythological adaptation because Wolfgang Peterson in this film has stripped away divine intervention. So he has presented a Trojan War as purely a human conflict. So this secularization, it reflects contemporary skepticism towards religious explanations while maintaining the epic scope and tragic themes of the original. So the films focus on loyalty and the cost of war. It resonated with the post 9/11 anxieties about the conflict and heroism. And then if we talk about Zack Snyder's 300, sorry, so it takes a radically different approach. Because it has embraced stylistic access and mythological hyperbole. So the film's visual style, it is derived from Frank Miller's graphic novel, and it has created a hyper-real aesthetics that acknowledge its own artificiality. So this approach allows the film to explore themes of sacrifice, freedom, resistance, while maintaining critical distance from historical accuracy. And more recently, the films like Wonder Woman and the Thor series, they have integrated, you may say, mythological elements into contemporary superhero narratives, demonstrating that how ancient archetypes can be updated for modern sensibilities while also addressing issues of gender representations and cultural diversity. Can you please change the slide? Yes. Now, if we talk about the television serial mythology, the extended, you would say, narratives and the character development. So, television's treatment of Greek mythology, it initially followed cinematic models, but the medium's capacity for like extended narrative development soon revealed, you may say, new scope and possibilities in Greek mythology and to present mythology through cinema. So, the 1997 NBC miniseries The Odyssey, starting Armand Asante, demonstrated that how television's episodic structure could accommodate the nature of mythological narratives that cinema often had to compress or basically simplify. So television's strength, it lies in character development over time and allowing for more nuanced, experienced, and exploration of mythological figures. So, this medium of television, it basically presented heroes who, sorry, who grow and change, and it reveal gods who reveal complexity and contradiction, and It focused on moral questions that developed across multiple episodes rather than requiring neat resolution within 2 hours. So basically, television offered more, you may say, detailed insights and exploration of mythological presentation than cinema, because cinema is time bound, and we have the privilege and leverage of extended narratives and narrative development with television. And then, if we talk about recent television productions which have taken increasingly sophisticated approaches to mythological adaptation. So we have this Netflix series, Blood of Zeus, which came out in 2020. It creates an original narrative within the Greek mythological framework, and it demonstrated that how television can expand mythological worlds rather than simply retelling familiar story. So there's a story, a Blood of Zeus. It talks about the son of Zeus, Heron, who is supposedly shown to precede Zeus after his death. So the story of Heron is not familiar. It is in the series. It is shown to be one of the lost stories, one of the lost epic stories, but. The any which has been used to present this series, it is brilliant. The story has a very refreshing approach to Greek world, and the understanding of the characters, the relation between the humans and the god, and the societal and political structure at Olympus. So it's one of the brilliant series which I have come across in Greek mythology. Sorry. And what is refreshing about the series is that it does not talk about any familiar story. Rather, it claims to talk about the story of Heron, which is supposed to be, or which is said to be lost in the passing down of Greek mythology to the future generations. And then we also have the series like American Gods, which is based on Neil Gaiman's novel. It represents another important evolution because it has presented mythological figures as immigrants in contemporary America who are forced to adapt to new cultural context while struggling to maintain their essential nature. So this framework allows for complex exploration of cultural adaptations, of religious syncretism, and the role of belief in shaping reality. So, television serials, nature also enables what we can call the mythological universe building, because this medium has shown that we can develop complex relationship between different mythological traditions and create an ongoing character for divine beings and explore the long term consequences of mythological events in ways which cinema cannot match, because again cinema has time bound constraint and television has more flexibility when it comes to the time limit of series. And then we also have animated television. So, experiment in animation has proven particularly adept at mythological adaptation. So, from the educational series, the Mythic Warriors, to more recent productions like I've given example of Blood of Zeus. Sorry. Animation's freedom from physical constraint allows for more faithful representation of mythological elements. So gods can truly appear divine, and monster can genuinely be monstrous, and magical events can unfold without the limitation of live action effects budgets. So the animation medium has also permitted more experimental approaches to mythological storytelling, and the shows these animation shows, they can blend different visual styles to represent different mythological realms and using symbolic imagery more directly. So overall, this animation experimentation has created representations of divine beings that even transcends human limitations. Ma'am, can you please change the slide? Yeah. Okay. Now, if we come to the digital narrative, so we have talked about cinema, we have talked about the use of mythology in television, and if we talk about digital narratives, so digital narratives, you can say they have introduced more interactive mythology, and they have also initiated participatory culture. So we talk about the emergence of video games as a dominant narrative medium. It has created unprecedented opportunities for like mythological storytelling. So the games like the God of War series, it initially uses Greek mythology primarily as a source of a spectacular combat scenario, but recent entries have demonstrated, you may say, far more sophisticated approaches to mythological adaptation. So this video game God of War, it represents a mature evolution of game-based mythology. So rather than simply placing players in mythological settings, the game explores themes of fatherhood, legacy, and redemption through the lens of Norse mythology. And it has also, doing this, it has also maintained connections to the protagonist's Greek mythological past. So, this approach demonstrates that how digital narratives can use mythological frameworks to explore personal growth and relationship, this dynamics in ways that traditional media cannot match. And sorry, if we talk about this a recent game of 2020 goes by the name Hades. It is developed by Supergiant Games. It represents perhaps the most sophisticated video game treatment of Greek mythology to date, because the game's rogue-like structure, like where players repeatedly attempt to escape from the underworld, creates a perfect mechanical metaphor for mythological themes of eternal struggle and cyclical time. And more importantly, these games treats mythological figures as complex character within their own motivation, relationships, and development arcs. So the interactive nature of the video games allow players to sorry, to inhabit mythological roles directly, creating personal investment in mythological narratives than that passive media cannot achieve. So players, they don't just watch the attempt of the characters to escape Hades. They became one of the characters Zagreus, experiencing his frustrations, relationships, and the growth firsthand. And then we also have many online communities, like digital platforms have also enabled entirely new forms of mythological engagement through fan fiction, social media adaptations, and collaborative storytelling. So we have platforms like Tumblr, TikTok, and Archive of Our Own host thousands of creative works that interpret, expand, and reimagine Greek mythological stories. So this participatory culture has led to significant developments in mythological interpretations, and it has very interestingly, it has introduced the, you may say, democratization of myths, because the myths, which is usually about the supernatural character, supernatural human, and the divine being and the cosmic order, it is being accessed by common man can place itself within this setting of supernatural cosmic order and can experience the fundamental human experiences. So you can say that it has reversed the status quo, which is introduced by the traditional mythological narratives, and where the common man just not participate as an observer or passive receiver, but he becomes the active involver in this mythological structure, which creates a more, you may say, personal connection with this with the mythology and the themes which the mythologies entails, and the lessons or the preachings which they want to impart. So if we look at it from that perspective, so this digital narratives, they have significantly led to the socialization and democratization of the mythical framework. And we also have contemporary online creators who frequently focus on previously marginalized perspectives. So they retell myths from the viewpoints of female characters, from the slaves, from the children, and even exploring queer readings of mythological relationships. And in a way, they have questioned the traditional power structures within mythological narratives. So, so we talk about this web comic Lord Olympus by Rachel Smith. So she exemplifies this strength because she has reimagined the Hades and Persephone myth in a contemporary setting while addressing themes of trauma, consent, and healing. So the comic's success it demonstrates that how digital platforms can support extended mythological narratives that has evolved based on audience feedback and creator development. And then we have very important addition to understanding of Greek mythology, which is the virtual and augmented reality, which is basically known as the VR experience. So emerging technologies, sorry, of virtual and augmented reality, it promises even more direct forms of mythological engagement. So, VR experiences can place users directly within mythological settings, allowing them to walk through the labyrinth of Crete or to climb Mount Olympus in a ways that approximate the immersive quality of ancient ritual practices. So these technologies they have enabled new forms of mythological education and cultural preservation by creating virtual museums and most importantly interactive experiences that has helped contemporary audiences understand the cultural context in which these stories originally developed. Can you please change the slides? Yes. So the very important question is like we have so far we have seen the evolution of Greek mythology through very important popular media mediums, which were cinema, television, and the digital narratives. Now we talk about that why these this mythology specifically endure. So we can say that the persistence of Greek mythology in contemporary media it reflects what Joseph Campbell has identified as monomyth. So what is this monomyth? It is the universal narrative pattern that appear across cultures and time periods. So Greek myths they provide particularly rich examples of archetypal characters and situations that continue to resonate with contemporary audience. So the hero's journey, as exemplified by Perseus, Theseus, and Hercules, it provides a template for personal growth and self-discovery that appears in everything, like from Star Wars to the Matrix. So the tragic hero it is embodied by figures like Oedipus and Achilles. It offers framework for understanding that how personal flaws and external circumstances can combine to create inevitable downfall. And also, we have female archetypes from Greek mythology who have proven particularly adaptable to contemporary concerns. So, figures like Athena, who represents wisdom and strategic thinking, and Artemis, sorry, who Artemis represents independence and environmental protection, and Persephone, who represent the seasonal change and personal transformation. It provides models for more complex female characterization that you can say they transcends the particular traditional gender limitations. And also, if we talk about Greek mythology's endurance, it also stems from its ideological flexibility. So, unlike religious texts that require faithful interpretation, mythological stories can be adapted to serve different cultural and political purpose while maintaining their essential narratives and symbolic power. So, for example, the Trojan War has been interpreted as a critique of imperialism. And if we talk about this movie of Troy, and then we have the movie 300, which is a celebration of martial valor. And then we have exploration of the cost of conflict in the Wonder Woman. So the myth's core elements, the honor, loyalty, and sacrifice, and the consequences of pride, it remains constant while their interpretation shifts to address contemporary concerns. So this flexibility allows mythological narratives to serve what Rolla Barthes has called the mythological functions in contemporary culture. So what is this? What is the mythological function as per Barth? It is to naturalize particular ideological positions by presenting them as eternal and universal rather than historically contingent. So, this recent evolution of Greek mythology in popular media, it very, you may say, adaptly justifies the naturalization of myth and the important aspects with which this mythological framework contains. And then many Greek myths have also provided a framework for understanding technological and social changes that ancient storytellers could never have imagined. So the myth of Icarus, it serves as a cautionary tale about technological hubris in everything from discussions of artificial intelligence to space exploration. So you can say this recent, you may say, increase in exploring the universe and simultaneously damaging the planet, it could be interpreted using the myth of Icarus, because Icarus here does not stand for over ambitious. Icarus in the present times, it stands for technological hubris. So, what is this technological hubris? The pride of knowing everything using technology. So, this advancement of technology, which we all know, will ultimately harm human. The excessive use of chat GPTs and all, the excesses, the excess of technology, which is ultimately is going to harm human, which everybody knows, but still we tends to ignore the signs of warning. So in this context, the myth of Icarus is evolving as this cautionary tale about this technological hubris. And then we also have Prometheus' theft of fire, which provides a template for stories about scientific discoveries and its unintended consequences. And then we have myth of Pandora, which has particularly become relevant in digital culture because, sorry, yes, because this myth of Pandora, it talks about that where concerns about privacy and artificial intelligence and technological complexity are often framed in terms of boxes that once opened cannot be closed. So these mythological frameworks, it provide familiar narrative structure for processing unfamiliar technological and social realities. So as we look forward, like to the future of mythological adaptation in popular culture, and several trends seems likely to continue developing. So first, we can expect increasingly diversity in mythological representation, with the creators drawing from previously marginalized perspectives and non-Western mythological traditions to create more inclusive narratives. Secondly, the technological advancement will continue to create new possibilities for mythological storytelling. So, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, interactive media will likely enable forms of mythological engagement that we can barely imagine today. And third, the global nature of contemporary media culture will likely lead to increased mythological syncretism, with the creators blending elements from different traditions to create new hybrid forms that speak to multicultural audiences. So, perhaps the most importantly, the continuing relevance of Greek mythology in contemporary media. It demonstrates the enduring human need for stories that help us to understand our places in the world. So, sorry, whether through spectacle of blockbuster cinema, the extended character development of television series, or the interactive engagement of digital games, these ancient stories they continue to provide frameworks for exploring fundamental questions about identity, morality, relationships, and meaning. So, the transformation of Greek mythology across different media forms it reveals not just the adaptability of these ancient stories, but also the evolving nature of storytelling itself. So, as new technologies emerge and cultural context shift, we can expect Greek mythology to continue evolving, providing both continuity with our cultural past and frameworks for understanding our technological and social future. So, to conclude, I would say that this myth persists not because they are unchanging, but because they are infinitely adaptable. They are capable of speaking to each generation's and each culture's particular concerns while maintaining their essential insights into human condition. So, in this sense, contemporary filmmakers and television producers and game designers they serve a role similar to the ancient poets who first gave these stories their enduring form. So, these contemporary media creators they are adapting these eternal themes to contemporary needs and they're ensuring their transmission to future generations. So, with this, I end my lecture. If you have any question, you can please type it in the chat box.